It is now my dear pleasure to introduce you to my friend, Pam Sherman. Pam and I first met years ago at a mutual friend's wedding, and our paths have crossed and overlapped since. However, preparing together for this day has given me an even deeper appreciation for Pam and all that she brings to the world. Pam Sherman is an actor, a writer, a leadership consultant, and a recovering lawyer, profiled in People magazine about her transition from lawyer to actor. How many of you have done that? Oh, okay, good. Today, she speaks, facilitates, and coaches leaders globally about finding their edge, which is Pam's signature: explore, dream, grow, and excite. Pam wrote the Suburban Outlaw column for USA Today for 15 years and broke box office records around the US in her one-woman show, Irma Bombeck, at Wits End. Pam's philanthropic efforts have made a difference for so many organizations, including JWI, where she is the incoming chairman, as we said, and they're so lucky to have you. Her new book, Play You the Role of a Lifetime, which you all also have a copy of in your goodie bags. And if you already have this book, we were a few short, so if you already have one, please don't take it, and we'll get it to someone who did not, maybe didn't get one, okay? But her book was actually released on my birthday, so it was a very special day, April 21st, just a month or so ago. Pam is joining us today from Rochester, where she lives with her husband and their barky dogs. And I won't share Pam's word with you because she wants to share it herself. But if I could find my own word for Pam, it would be transformative. Please come to the stage, Pam.
Thank you, Barbara. I love giving Barbara a kiss because it makes me feel taller. So apparently I'm the I, which I was so excited because that meant inspire, so that I could finally tell my husband and children, I am inspiring. They haven't believed it for years. But I am inspired. I'm inspired by Zibby and Hillary and Barbara. Thank you so much for teaching and giving, and Barbara for being the impresario behind today. I'm inspired by the people that I met and the stories that you shared, and for all of you saying hello and welcoming me. But I'm a little in awe of all of you, that you came on a Friday morning. It's beautiful out. You could be doing anything else, but you're curious and you want to grow and you want to connect with each other. And so inspiration is sitting right next to you or behind you. I just got the microphone for the next 15 minutes. So thank you, Barbara. My whole life story is about balancing, trying to become aware of who I am at the core and how that can make a difference and an impact on others. It's the key balance story of my life. And to do that, you have to know who you are, you have to believe in who you are, and you have to get others to believe in you too. Because very often, we suffer from what I call a believability gap. About 20 years ago, I was suffering from a deep believability gap. I came from this community. This is a full circle moment. Some of you I have known for, 40 years. I came to Washington with my husband because it was our compromise city. We had gone to American University and he hated New York City. I'm from Staten Island. I don't know if I come from a very dark place called Rochester. Staten Island is even darker. But the really funny thing is, I came here and I loved this community. I started my career here. I transformed my career here. I gave birth to my kids here. And I developed a deep and abiding love for all that this community had to offer. And about 20 years ago, I lost a very dear friend. We were contemporary lawyers together. Her name was Randy Waxman. Some of you might know her in the room. And she died suddenly, providing me with unwanted and unneeded perspective at 35 years old, when your best friend drops dead. And we were really recovering from that loss when my husband decided to move his business to an old Army depot in upstate New York, near his hometown of Geneva, New York, not Switzerland, kind of a bummer. And they took me from my Bethesda home, kicking and screaming. You can still find my fingernail marks on the banister. It's 6727 Landon Lane, if anybody wants to drive by. It was gorgeous. I cried for about 5 years after I moved to a cornfield in upstate New York. And through my tears, I got involved, and in honor of Randy Waxman, we founded the Randy Joy Waxman Foundation to make a difference for children with cancer, something that was deeply important to her. I wrote a one-woman show, a comedy about the death of my best friend, just so you know. It was called Pumping Josie, Life and Death in Suburbia, and it was produced right here at the oldest women's theater in Washington, D.C., Horizons Theater, and then I traveled around the country with it. It was a blast. I told the story of how I got to pump breast milk on the way to my best friend's funeral. No, really, it was funny. And then I got to start writing a column called The Suburban Outlaw, where I made fun of that husband in print because he'd moved me to a cornfield in upstate New York. But in writing that column over 15 years and having it published in over 43 newspapers in the Gannett system on the USA Today network, I got to meet incredible people who were making a difference for their communities. And then about 18 years later, or 18 years ago, I realized, and my husband and I realized, that we needed to send our children who had grown, they were beyond 3 and 5, to college, and we needed to pay for that. So I decided, I looked within myself, and I had stopped crying at this point. I had settled into my community, and I realized I needed to start a business, and I had to figure out what was I gonna sell, and I realized I needed to sell me. I had to believe in myself, and I had to put myself out there. And the really interesting thing is, on the journey through change, through challenge, through success, through all the things that happen in life, the one thing you really can count on is yourself. And so I tell this because I want you to understand this full circle moment for me taught me some lessons. We are so much more resilient when we give ourselves over to love, friendship, and community. I moved to Rochester, and I was like, I have all my friends in Washington, and I had lost a very dear friend. I didn't want to make new friends. Well, if you decide to only choose friends who aren't going to die, you won't have any friends, okay? And I have built a rich, deep community in Rochester, and frankly, it widened my horizons. I built a community around the world because I moved to a smaller place, and I had to make new friends. The other lesson that I learned is that you can revive and be resurgent no matter what's happened when you focus on putting yourself out there with a purpose and a mission to have an impact on others. And then the final lesson is that I learned who you are isn't where you are. Who you are isn't what you do. And who you are is made more powerful when you can bridge your own inner believability gap and believe in yourself and get others to believe in you as well. To do that, you have to know who you are, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to get others to believe in you too. The believability gap is essentially, I'll just define it for you, it's when there's a gap between who you fundamentally are and how you think you have to show up for others. That's internal. And it's the gap between who you fundamentally are and how others perceive you. That's the external believability gap. You can't solve one without the other, because we aren't who we are in a vacuum. We are who we are for those we wish to impact, lead, and serve. So you have to be able to solve for both. I discovered this many, many years ago when I started my career here in Washington, D.C. as a lawyer. Yes, I'm not only a recovered lawyer, I guess recovering. It's constant. But my real story starts in the 2nd grade. I want to just picture this. I used to play piano with the door wide open, hoping that a wandering talent agent would hear me, why are you laughing? Hear me sing and cast me on Broadway, because they wander the streets of Staten Island. They don't. But I came from a very traditional family, and my dream of being an actor just wasn't going to be right for them. My dad was an OBGYN, and my mother was a Freudian psychoanalyst. No, really, this was very confusing growing up, okay? My father would say, if I had a headache, take 2 aspirin, and my mother would say, who are you mad at? But to them, being an actor was akin to being like an axe murderer. They didn't understand it. And so I thought I should go to law school because it would be like playing a lawyer on TV. This was the day of LA Law. Does anybody remember? Harry Hamlin was cute back then, okay? Even in a gorilla suit. So I come to DC because my husband's from Geneva, New York, and he hates New York, and we end up in Washington, DC, and I start practicing law. And something just didn't feel right. I felt like I was wearing what I call an ill-fitting suit, both metaphorically and actually, right? And it was really actually. It was like big shoulder pads and cameos. Alcott and Andrews, does anyone remember Alcott and Andrews? Yeah, it was really bad. But the ill-fitting suit that I was wearing internally was even worse. I would shut the door of my very nice office on K Street, and I would lie on the floor, and I would howl at the ceiling because, well, silently, because I didn't want them to hear me, because I didn't want anyone to know something didn't feel right. I wasn't confident. I wasn't creative. I'm sure that my clients didn't believe in me because I didn't believe in me. And so I decided to sneak off and take an acting class at the Shakespeare Theater with an incredible acting teacher, Ed Giroux, if anybody knows and has followed his career. And all of a sudden, I saw in that room, actors weren't pretending. They were actually living truthfully in the given imaginary circumstances that they were being given. They were creating characters and understanding their backstories so that they could be truly believable in the moment. There was a creative collaboration happening because they were paying attention to each other. They were present, they were listening, they were generous. And I suddenly started feeling better in my suit. I actually started dressing better too. I went back to the office, and I will never forget a client saying to me, when did you make partner? And I'm like, well, I'm not. I felt more confident. I felt like I could make a difference. And I discovered there that the solution to my own believability gap was found by pretending, the world of pretending. Actors actually aren't pretending. They want you to come on a journey with them, a journey of believability. Using those skills were truly important to me when my secure profession fell apart. My law firm, Melrod, Redmond, and Gartland, shut its doors, and I suddenly was out of a job. And the funny thing happened on the way to following my dream. I became a full-time actor in Washington, D.C. And I got a phone call after being, profiled in People magazine for ditching my day job. They got it wrong. The day job ditched me to pursue my dreams. And it was from the head of training in the Department of Justice. And she said, at least this is how I remember it, can you help make my lawyers more interesting? They're kind of interesting right now, right? Like, no, I can't. There's no way I can do that. And I started thinking about it. Why can't I teach what actors do? Developing a character, really understanding deeply what the vision for that character is, being more influential and persuasive through storytelling, and really growing beyond your derailers that are internal and even the external ones so that you could excite and ignite your audience. So that discovery has taken me all over the world. I've been working with leaders from Cincinnati to Saudi Arabia till, I like to say, from Milwaukee to Morocco and every place in between. If you can learn how to be who you are, wherever you are, in order to ignite your audience, whether you're a community advocate, or whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're a volunteer, or whether you're just a parent trying to get a 4-year-old to tie their shoes, your job is to pay attention to your audience. As Hillary said, give them what they need and want, but most important, take them on a journey to the edge. So I want to just briefly take you through what the edge is. First, you have to explore who you are. Who are you at the core, and what's important to you? I call it know your power words. Your power doesn't sit in your title. It doesn't sit in your role. It sits within you. So I have an exercise that I love to do, which some have done, and this is why I didn't want Barbara to tell. If you could think of one word that defines you at the core, what is that word? There's only 2 rules. It can't be, I like to say, it can't be transactional, like you can't be late, tired, or hungry, right? It's not in the moment. And you have to have an ounce of self-awareness, like would your friends and family actually agree with you, right? There's, that. So my word, and it came to me because someone gave it to me, it was hard to find, is energy. When I show up with energy, I can make a difference for others. When I protect my energy, that's when I can truly make an impact. The other words that are important to me are my core values, which are, actually it used to be family, but then they started pissing me off, which are connectedness, because I love feeling connections with others, excellence, which to me is holding myself accountable, having integrity, doing what I say I'm going to do. And then the third one is very important to me. It's love. It's love. It's how do we give love to our communities and to each other, because we need more of that in our world right now. My values sometimes change. It's what I want to pay attention to. But at the core, I am who I am, and people can trust that. The dream part is understanding that everybody has a vision. But a visualization is a skill set. I met a mind-body coach here in the room, a mindset coach. Visualization is we're going to do a whole workshop on this if you want to stay. Visualization is a key of leadership and a key part of the edge. But another key part of the edge, the dream part, is your through line, your story. What are the stories from your past that illuminate the path to your future? The G is grow. How can we grow beyond our believability derailers? I call them the archetypes. You know, the bad guys that live in our head, right? Hello, imposter, my old friend. Anybody got one? That's certainly one of mine. But sometimes I'm the problem solver. I step in and solve problems that I have no business solving, right? And then there's the understudy. Oh, I'm in line for a new job, but I can't do it like she did it. I can't do it like he did it. Why don't you do it like yourself instead of trying to play the understudy for somebody else? So you need to grow beyond your believability derailers, both the internal ones, and guess what? Sometimes you have external ones. You know, the naysayers, the people in your life. One of the best parts of moving away is I got to lose the psychos. You know what I'm talking about? You know, your friends who hold you back, who are like, you know, what, you're going to write a column? I don't understand. Who are you? It's really easy to lose the psychos when you move hundreds of miles away. It's much harder when you're actually in bed with them. So I did have a woman who came up to me on that. And then the last part, especially for the Inspire speaker, is to excite. It's really important to understand who your audiences are and how you can make a difference for them. For me, how I can make a difference for you is by helping you know what excites me. Do you mind all standing with me in just a moment? So I always prepare by doing what is known as a power pose, if anybody's aware of Amy Cuddy's research. But my power pose is very specific. It comes from my voice teacher. She told me, no, you're right, you can't sing, but you can sell a song, Pam Sherman. So I always imagine that I am standing with a spotlight shining down at me at Carnegie Hall, and there's thunderous applause happening. Go ahead, you can do it with me. No, don't applaud yet. You're going to applaud for yourselves. And we stand and we do a power pose, and you close your eyes, and you think of a time you felt most powerful. A time when you made a difference for someone, a time when you made a difference for yourself, a time when you were able to build and grow your confidence and truly ignite your audiences with who you are. To me, that is how you inspire people, by being who you are wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.